What if Earth's gravity was stronger? Imagine waking up tomorrow to a world dramatically changed, not through technological revolution or climate disaster, but by an invisible force, gravity. From the moment your eyes flutter open, things feel different, heavier, almost as if the air itself has thickened around you. This scenario isn't science fiction for the sake of entertainment. It's a thought experiment, a way to explore the profound and subtle interconnectedness of every living thing on our planet, shaped by the very force that holds us to the ground. Let's embark on this journey, unfolding the tapestry of our world, as we explore what would truly happen if Earth's gravity became stronger. Gravity, the unseen hand that sculpts galaxies, binds our feet to the Earth, and orchestrates the ceaseless ballet of the tides. On Earth, the acceleration due to gravity is about 9.8 meters per second squared, a value so fundamental that life as we know it has adapted to its persistent tug over billions of years. Now, let's imagine that this force increases, not by a minuscule amount, but enough that everyone notices its impact the moment they try to stand out of bed. The instinctive first reaction? Everything feels heavier. A cup of coffee, easy to lift before, now pulls down harder in your grasp. Your own body suddenly weighs more. Tasks once effortless demand increased energy. Muscles strain under new burdens, and bones feel a pressure they were never meant to endure. The smallest child stumbles, their arms hanging as if loaded with invisible weights. Every movement becomes a negotiation with a planet now hungry to hold you tighter. As you set out to investigate your new reality, the transformation in the human world becomes impossible to ignore. The architecture of society, literally and figuratively, starts to fall under the dominion of heavier gravity. Every building, from the tallest skyscraper to the humblest wooden cottage, was designed for a world of 1G, one Earth gravity. With every newton of gravity's force, structures groan and creak, bridge cables strain. Foundations settle deeper into the ground. Engineers and architects scramble to reinforce support structures, but the shift is unrelenting. Vehicles, too, face turmoil. Cars, heavier on their suspensions, demand more power to move. Tires bulge, engines labor, brakes wear faster. Bicycles and motorcycles, while once nimble, become hard to pedal or balance. Air travel becomes the domain of the impossible. Heavier gravity means denser air at ground level, but aircraft need to generate far more lift to get off the ground, a task most modern jets simply can't perform. Humanity becomes stranded, more earthbound than ever. The ripple effects carry into sports, one of our core competitions against nature and each other. Basketball players leap only fractionally off the court. High jump records shrivel. Pole vaulters can barely get their bodies off the mat. Runners lumber under new weight, time slowing dramatically even as the will to compete persists. The Olympics, a showcase of human potential, is deeply transformed. As the days pass, attention turns to the most personal of struggles, the human body itself. Every organ, every joint, every cell, designed over countless generations for Earth's gentle pull, must now adapt. Our skeletons are marvels of evolutionary engineering, strong but not overbuilt. With more gravity, bones carry heavier loads, and the risk of fractures increases, especially for the elderly or those with conditions like osteoporosis. The backs of our ancestors, upright for millions of years, now threaten to bow under new pressures, causing posture issues, chronic pain, and a rise in spinal injuries. Muscles, those cords of energy that let us run, jump, and dance, must work harder for every movement. Over time, they would likely grow stronger, evolution stubbornly grinding away at our weakness through generations. But the first to face the change would suffer unprecedented fatigue, injury, and difficulty in daily life. The cardiovascular system, too, labors to move blood upward from the feet against a stronger gravitational tide. Hearts work overtime, increasing the risk of circulatory problems, heart disease, and blood pooling in the extremities. Children, whose growth is already carefully orchestrated by genetics and environment, now develop differently. They crawl for longer before learning to walk. Their bones thicken, their muscles bulk up in compensation, and their statures may remain shorter and sturdier than their predecessors. Evolution, relentless in its drive, would slowly shape whole generations to cope with the demands of this heavier home. But gravity's reach extends beyond humans. Turn your eyes to the animal world, and the consequences unfold in endless diversity. The largest creatures, elephants, giraffes, whales, are most at risk. On land, their great weight, previously supported by thick columns of bone and muscle, now borders on crippling. Elephants lumber, struggling to stand from rest. Giraffes, long-necked and graceful, find their signature feature a liability. Lifting their heads to graze or drink becomes an exhausting feat, their hearts straining to push blood to such heights. Land animals might shrink or disappear entirely if gravity is too intense. Only the most compact and low-slung creatures could thrive. Insect populations, already operating near the limits of what simple exoskeletons can support, collapse. Flight becomes all but impossible. Birds flap desperately, but cannot take off, clip their wings, and fall silent in the trees. The sky, once filled with a symphony of song and movement, grows eerily quiet. The era of avian dominance wanes, carried away by a force as merciless as it is indiscriminate. In the seas, the weight of water provides some refuge. Fish, whales, all things submerged, reap the benefit of buoyancy. Yet marine mammals, who must venture onto land to breed or rest, now face challenges so severe that breeding colonies might dwindle, and whole species could be driven to the brink. Sea turtles, seals, and penguins are among the most at risk, their journeys onto beaches now fraught with exhaustion and far greater danger. Forests adapt too, standing as living memories of gravity's gentle touch. Trees, once able to grow tall and slender, must contend with the crushing loads of higher weight. Trunks thicken, canopies shrink, and the silhouettes of forests change. Grasses, with their low profile and sturdy roots, flourish in competitions against taller, weaker rivals. The planet's vegetation becomes denser, more squat, more robust, as if the very character of the landscape is bowing to the will of a more powerful gravity. Microscopic life, too, does not escape. Microorganisms that rely on flagella or cilia to swim against water's resistance may be only slightly affected, due to their minuscule size and the overwhelming dominance of fluid dynamics at such scales. Yet the larger they are, the more they feel the new weight, the more their movements are impaired. The cycle of life, of predator and prey, is disrupted. Predators built for speed and agility now lose their edge. Lions, cheetahs, wolves, all struggle to chase, leap, and pounce. Prey, meanwhile, take advantage, adopting new strategies, making themselves even harder to catch by sticking close to dense cover or burrowing deeper into the ground. The arms race of evolution is suddenly tilted by the new referee of gravity. Crops, the cornerstone of civilization, offer their own reaction: corn, rice, wheat. Stalks curve close to the ground, and grains grow smaller and more compact. Farmers must learn to sow, tend, and harvest different plants, selected not for height and yield, but for their robustness in the face of weighty opposition. Humans adjust in subtle ways, too. Fashion abandons high heels and slender forms, prioritizing comfort, support, and stability. Orthopedic technology booms, producing braces, custom footwear, posture supports, all necessary to survive daily life. Urban infrastructure, unable to handle the compounded mass of millions, is reimagined. High-speed elevators become unsafe. Stairs are shortened and ramps are everywhere. Even city layouts change, with population densities forced downward by the structural limits of what can be built and safely inhabited. The psychological impacts are as profound as the physical. A sense of heaviness that creeps into the mind accompanies the bodily struggle. Less mobility leads to social isolation for some, and the joy of movement, dancing, running, frolicking, becomes a luxury reserved for the most robust. New forms of recreation emerge, perhaps more cerebral, or focused on community and creativity, rather than strenuous activity. Meanwhile, the world's great wonders are transformed. The pyramids sigh under their own stones, requiring reinforcement. Ancient cathedrals may crumble or close to visitors. The Eiffel Tower, its latticework strained past design tolerances, is draped in scaffolding, or perhaps cordoned off completely. Future construction, once marked by human ambitions scraping the sky, is far more modest, ruled by caution and the lessons of gravity's dominance. The cost of these changes isn't just measured in discomfort or inconvenience. The increased gravitational force affects the fundamental physics of how the world works. Energy use soars as everything requires more effort, and machinery is more prone to breakdown under high stresses. Industrial processes must be re-engineered, as cranes, hoists, and pulleys work overtime to lift raw materials. Shipping costs rise astronomically as cargoes become harder to move, and global trade is throttled by the difficulty of transportation. Science, too, is forced to reckon with the new reality. Laboratories recalibrate their equipment. Experimental data, collected for decades, must be reinterpreted in the context of higher gravity. Researchers perk up at the opportunity. How will gravity affect chemical reactions, the behavior of fluids, the properties of materials? An era of rediscovery dawns as the laws of physics reveal new nuances under an unaccustomed weight. This heavier Earth would shape more than our tools and toys. It would reshape our place in the solar system. The Moon, orbiting Earth as it always has, sees its path altered by a stronger gravitational field, perhaps spiraling closer, causing more extreme tides, coastal flooding, or even increased volcanic activity on our planet. Satellites, designed to orbit a planet of a certain mass, would struggle to maintain their paths, becoming unstable, burning up, or being launched into new orbits. Space travel, already a formidable challenge in our current world, would border on the impossible. Rockets would require exponentially more power to escape the stronger grip of Earth, making access to the stars a far more distant dream. Time itself is not immune to the influence of gravity. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, the passage of time changes in the presence of a gravitational field. The stronger the gravity, the slower time ticks. On a planet with higher gravity, atomic clocks on the surface would run infinitesimally slower compared to those at higher altitudes or the edge of space. In day-to-day life, these changes are almost negligible, but on the grand cosmological scale, they matter. A reminder of gravity's pervasive influence, stretching from biology to the very fabric of reality. As generations pass, humanity's body and culture change. We become stockier, more robust, perhaps developing shorter limbs and thicker bones. Our stories, folklore, and values might shift, placing greater emphasis on strength, stability, and resilience, celebrating the virtues of adaptability and perseverance over exploration and lightness. But there are unexpected advantages as well. With a heavier atmosphere pressed by increased gravity, the diffusion of air might lead to more efficient dispersal of pollution, or, alternatively, air could become denser, making breathing more difficult, especially at high altitudes. Diseases that travel in aerosols might spread more or less efficiently. Fire hazards might be reduced, as heavier air takes longer to heat and flames might burn lower and slower, potentially sparing forests from rampant wildfire. Some technologies, hobbled by the increased power demands, wither. Drones and hovercraft fade into obsolescence. Others, like robust robotics, all-terrain machinery, and new materials, thrive in a world where everything must handle more force. Innovation follows need, and the cadence of progress takes on a new rhythm suited to the world's changed heart. If gravity's increase is sudden, the disruption would lead to massive upheaval, a global crisis requiring unprecedented cooperation. Nations would marshal resources to strengthen infrastructure, care for the injured, and reimagine the patterns of daily life. In the face of adversity, humanity's most remarkable trait, adaptability, would be tested to its limits and likely prevail. If, however, this change occurs over millennia, evolution would transform all forms of life, yielding a planet of squat, thick-boned animals and dense forests, a quieter world where the sky is empty of birds and the oceans dominate as the last refuge of Earth's giants. Life would go on, molded by gravity's unseen sculptor, There is a poetic symmetry in imagining a world where gravity dictates everything so profoundly. The force that once allowed us to run, climb, and reach for the stars becomes both jailer and teacher, a constant reminder of the delicate balance that makes life on Earth possible. Each change, a burden, but also an opportunity to learn, adapt, and marvel at the interdependence of all things on this blue world we call home. Yet even as life finds new forms, some dreams slip further away. The ability to reach space, to colonize new worlds, or to imagine ourselves as voyagers among the stars is stymied by the relentless weight binding us to Earth's embrace. Imagination itself, though, is unbounded, rooted as strongly in the human spirit as gravity tethers our bodies to the ground. So, in a world defined anew by stronger gravity, we endure, adapt, and discover, reminded always that the forces we take for granted not only shape our bodies and buildings, but sculpt our civilizations, our dreams, and our very place in the cosmos. Let this thought experiment linger in your mind, a reminder that even the invisible foundations of reality are fragile and precious. For in the end, the story of Earth is, and always will be, a dance, sometimes gentle, sometimes demanding, between life and the forces that hold it close. Thank you for watching the video. What do you think about today's topic? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and share the video to support the channel. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.